crap all of the developments since my last video. Bethesda is being sued for their false advertising, stupid bag thing that they were like, we're not gonna do anything about that. What the hell? They gave the nice bags to online influencers, which I thought was extra hilarious. Like, they deserve nice things. There's been a lot of layoffs in the game industry. What happened with that? EA and Activision, I believe those are two companies who are like laying off tons of people. That's great. Their live service models are so fantastic they have to now fire people because they don't have any income. Or maybe they're just greedy. I don't really know. Let's see what Anthem sucks. What happened with that? This is just shameless Destiny clone. It's boring as hell. Just been a lot of bad news. Just been a lot of really, really bad news. Also, the game studio behind Metro, who's now threatening to not release a PC game ever again if people don't buy Metro from the Epic Store. Fuck off. What is that? You can go screw yourself. I'm not buying it off of Epic now. I was going to, then I saw that. Now I'm not doing it. Anyway, guys, today we're having a frank conversation about loot boxes and predatory gambling in video games. So at least we have that to talk about. It's been a bad couple weeks. Did you hear, everyone? Loot boxes are illegal in Belgium after the country realized the form of microtransaction is predatory. I've hated loot boxes since I first saw them in Overwatch, and I haven't nor will I spend a single cent on a goddamn loot box because I don't believe in gambling. Unfortunately, the gaming industry doesn't share my moral compass. While we're on the topic, it would also be important to mention that the UK and America are also looking into regulating loot boxes under gambling laws. The Federal Trade Commission is planning on looking into the issue later this year and refusing to comment on a legal investigation into the loot box monetization. Good. Screw loot boxes. Practice of offering packages full of randomized reward for cash is insane and unethical at best. Thank Christ this has become controversial in a relatively short amount of time. First instance of me noticing the practice was the launch of Overwatch back in 2016, and from 2016 and 2017, video game gambling exploded, branching off into every genre. From online shooters to goddamn FIFA soccer to holy hell, Forza Motorsports. Other companies, seeing the success of Overwatch and built-in platform gambling, thought they deserved a piece of the morally treacherous pie. And for the time, it went unnoticed in the mainstream, being more a simple thorn in the side of gamers. Yet another grimy cherry on the shit sundae that is modern-day video games. That is until EA released Battlefront 2. That was fun. The anger and contempt that had been festering for years in the gaming community exploded, reaching a fever pitch around November of 2017. The community was so angry they managed to wipe $3 billion off EA's stock price, which, to be honest, wasn't enough. They should have lost more. EA literally went to their shareholders to explain $3 billion wasn't a hit financially. Remember that next time an executive tells you loot boxes are necessary because games cost too much. Gaming companies have even taken to breaking their own games to make the gambling more appealing. Loot boxes in Battlefront 2 were not just gambling, they were tuned to make free progression harder. You could either grind for an obscene amount of time to get a character free, or you could just gamble and hope you got it faster. On top of that, advantages were placed inside the virtual slot machines, ensuring players who participated in the gambling had an unfair advantage in play. Not even the single example here. Just the one I decided to use. Of course, the gaming industry is its own worst enemy here, complaining ad nauseum that video games are too expensive and they haven't increased the price of video games ever. Which is bullshit when you realize that no game nowadays, no full game that is, costs $60. If you wanted to get the whole story for Destiny 1, you better be ready to pony up some more money for DLC, because that's where the rest of the goddamn story is. So they artificially inflate the cost of their games, then complain about the cost, then introduce free-to-play elements to bilk more money from the pockets of consumers. And then they start the cycle all over again and whine about the cost and how they just want to offer players a choice to skip the grind. A grind, again, they put in the game to encourage microtransactions. Because you just can't make any money just selling games. It's impossible. I mean, let's face it. There's only so much revenue you can make from DLC, multiple special editions, microtransactions, food promotions, and if you're Ubisoft, Alexa voice assist tie-ins. Jesus, what even? People, these companies are so poor. They need to sell casinos to your kids. Oh, by the way, everyone, the gaming industry hit record profits in 2018. Clearly, there is no money to be had in this business. And I'm going to go ahead and say fuck off to whoever defends this. You know, like Ubisoft did. Ubisoft, not content to be outdone in terms of being a wormy piece of shit, thought it was a great idea to try and save the practice as opposed to just putting the shovel down and hopping out of the hole. In a Steam post saying, I do appreciate why players feel the way they do about loot boxes. Not a huge fan myself. And of course, Ubi Warlock, who wrote that comment, is full of crap. He would continue to say, however, as it was also pointed out, you can always just not buy them. Yeah, gambling addicts, you just have to not gamble. How hard is it? No one ever got hurt by a little gambling, right? Okay, wait, hold on, there's more of this crap. There's a lot more, and it's just as dumb. Loot boxes also help us to put more money into new titles, and to understand what players are looking for in games. If players simply didn't buy these crates, they would not be added into games in future. All in all, loot crates / cosmetic items in general have been a huge boon for the gaming industry, being a driving factor in the increased popularity of games over the past decade or so. They aren't a bad thing if done right. Holy crap, let's break down how dumb as hell this is. If players simply don't buy crates, they would not be added to games in future. Well, actually, Copernicus, if your shitty employer didn't add them, they wouldn't be in video games either. But funny enough, you don't think that's a good option. This is just downright bold-faced lying. Even if they didn't get bought by a majority of gamers, gambling addicts, stupid kids, etc., the game-breaking practices by the publisher all but guarantee the success of these predatory digital slot machines. You can't completely screw free progression and then act like people buy the boxes because they like them, you goddamn viper. People buy the loot boxes because they can't stand your slow-ass drip-fed bullshit. Or they're gambling addicts. Or they're dumb. Dumb, impressionable children. Don't buy them isn't a good defense is what I'm saying. And no company is adding loot boxes to not sell them to people. As for arguing loot boxes are some kind of benefit for the company so they aren't bad is corporate speak if I ever heard it. Of course they're good for you. Of course they benefit you. In much the same way crack addicts are good for drug dealers. And shocker, drug addicts don't magically make drug dealers great. And it's sure not beneficial to drug addicts to have successful drug dealers. For the sake of sounding more rational and not automatically jumping to the best extreme I can think of, cigarettes are bought. Cigarettes are still bad for the general public. I don't care if loot boxes are good for your bottom line. The fact you're happy about that isn't something to be proud of. It's depressing and amoral. Acting like you all of a sudden will make more and work harder on new games is complete fabrication as well. It's duplicity made manifest. The industry is full tilt on the live services train right now, which contains less games in its goddamn business model. So on one hand, the industry wants you to believe loot boxes mean more games, but on the other hand, they're outright planning less games. Worst of all, they're boring. I hate live service games. GTA Online bored the hell out of me, but that's a story for a different time. If you want to make money selling games, then sell a game. Or just have the stones to admit you want all this extra cash for your pockets and your shareholders and that this isn't about quality at all. Oh, but don't worry, folks. They're good if you do them right. Bullshit. Prime, grade A, bullshit. This is the flimsiest lie I've heard in my life. The majority of the gaming public doesn't buy into microtransactions, and you damn well know it. And propping up the industry on a few whales is irresponsible and ruins games for the rest of us. Appealing only to the people with deep pockets, or worse, a poor bastard with a very real addiction, is wrong. Which is infinitely more sad when you realize plenty of organizations have come to the conclusion that loot boxes are addictive. The Australian Environment and Communications Reference Committee just released a study that found, quote, loot boxes are psychologically akin to gambling. What? Who could have foreseen that coming? Gambling is akin to gambling. That is really amazing. I don't know how you could have possibly come to that conclusion. And to the idiot executive or corporate bag boy who wants to try and dispute that, you can also talk to the UK Gambling Commission, the Gambling Department of the Czech Republic, the French Online Gaming Regulation Authority, Directorate General for Gambling Regulation in Spain, or fuck, any of the other 12 global gambling organizations that agree loot boxes are gambling. Because, of course it's gambling. Paying money to play a game of chance for possible reward is the very definition of gambling. You pay money to buy a loot box from Call of Duty, and the prize is based on a game of chance. There is no gray area, like the game industry wants you to believe. Games companies act like because it's video games that their gambling doesn't fit the actual legal definition of gambling to a T, which it absolutely does. And to the gamers who buy into the corporate talking points and say these companies need more money, you're dumb. And I am so sick of hearing it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was $60 a pop and sold 1 to 2 million copies on just Steam. This pretty much showcases that Ubisoft is lying out of its ass when it says games are too expensive. That figure is just for Steam. 120 million from just Steam sales alone in 2 weeks after releasing the game. Not counting sales in other countries, not counting physical copies for consoles, not counting digital copies for consoles, not counting other game selling services, not counting special editions, not counting DLC or the inane in-game currency sales, not counting the food promotions, not even counting the Alexa voice deal. Seriously, what the fuck was that? Also, bravo to the gaming industry for never releasing sales figures or how much money it costs to make the game to the public so you can continuously beat the pauper's drum. If you can't turn a profit by just selling games, then you business bad, and that's your fault, not ours. And when the government decides to get involved again, you'll have no one to blame but yourselves. Long story short, loot boxes suck, loot boxes are gambling.